The morning sky over Willow Creek was painted in soft gray streaks, a moody prelude to what should have been a simple Saturday. The air smelled faintly of wet asphalt, though it hadn't rained, just the sort of dampness that clung to things when something was about to go wrong. From the second-story apartment window, Ava Carter watched the clouds with an unsettled quiet, sipping black coffee from her chipped NASA mug. Her blue sedan, a 2012 Toyota Camry, sat perfectly aligned in its usual parking spot. To most, it was an old, unremarkable car. To Ava, it was freedom, earned from years of late-night tutoring sessions and temp jobs during college. Her job at the local newspaper didn't pay much, but the car was hers. Paid off. Safe. Her phone buzzed on the table. Jesse Miller. Jesse had been Ava's best friend since freshman year at the University of Michigan. They bonded over cheap pizza, their love for true crime podcasts, and mutual hatred for calculus too. But something about Jesse had always felt restless. The kind of person who changed hair colors like outfits, always needing a new thrill. Ava, on the other hand, was the grounded one. Stable. Reliable. The message read, "Hey love, any chance I could borrow the Camry for a few hours? I need to pick up a Craigslist dresser and my car's acting up again." Ava hesitated, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. Jesse's car was a disaster. The rattling engine and unpredictable AC had been the punchline of their group chats for months. Ava sighed, took another sip of coffee, and typed, "Yeah, just take it easy with her. Fill up the tank if you can." Minutes later, Jesse arrived, oversized sunglasses, white hoodie, and energy that filled the room like perfume. She barely stayed long enough to accept the keys. "You're a literal angel," Jesse said, hugging her quickly. "I'll have her back in like 2 hours max, promise." As Ava stood by the window watching the Camry pull out of the lot, a flicker of doubt hit her stomach like an undigested pill. Something about Jesse's tone felt rehearsed. Too cheerful. She wasn't even limping from the car trouble she'd claimed to have yesterday. She brushed it off. In the silence that followed, Ava tried to write. Her editor had asked for a piece on local infrastructure failings, potholes, bridge repairs, that sort of thing. But she couldn't focus. Her eyes kept returning to her phone. An hour passed. Then 2. By the third hour, she was pacing. She called. No answer. Texted. No response. Checked Jesse's location on Snap Map. It was frozen, 45 minutes from town. Another hour passed. When the call finally came, it was abrupt. "Hey," Jesse said, her voice strained. There's been a bit of an accident." Ava's heart stopped. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but the car, the brakes were kind of messed up, right? You never got those looked at." "What?" Ava's voice rose. "What are you talking about?" "I had the brakes done last fall." "What happened?" Jesse stumbled. I was going down hillside and the car didn't stop. I tried everything. It just slid into this truck. No one's hurt or anything, thank God. But, yeah." Silence. Ava's head spun. Hillside was a steep road, sure, but dry today. Nothing about this made sense. "You're saying the brakes failed?" Jesse's tone hardened. "I'm just saying, maybe you didn't realize. Cars get weird. It's not like I crashed it on purpose." Ava's thoughts flooded with confusion and fear. Did she miss a maintenance issue? Could she be blamed? "I'm coming there," she said quickly, grabbing her bag. The accident scene was already cleared by the time she arrived. Jesse stood near a curb, looking disheveled but unhurt. The Camry, however, was wrecked on the front left side. Crumpled hood, bent wheel, a sickening sight. Jesse avoided her gaze. "What exactly happened?" Ava asked. "I already told the officer," Jesse mumbled. "You'll get the report soon. Just be careful what you say to insurance, okay? If they hear the brakes were faulty, they might not cover it." Ava's stomach dropped. "I never said the brakes were faulty." Jesse raised her eyebrows. "You kind of implied it. Remember last month? You said something about them squeaking." Ava remembered. A faint noise, fixed in the next oil change. That wasn't the same as faulty. Back at home, Ava couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. Something didn't add up. Then came the text from Logan, a mutual friend. Heard what happened. Jesse said you knew the car was dangerous and let her drive it anyway? Damn, Ava. Her chest tightened.
What? No.
That wasn't what happened. Ava gripped her phone, staring into the glow. The doubt she had dismissed earlier came rushing back like a wave. And then she realized Jesse was spinning a story, and Ava was the villain in it. Ava barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the image of her crumpled car came back to her. Twisted metal, the mangled fender, and Jesse's calm, rehearsed face. She had tried to drown it all out with lavender tea and reruns of The Office, but even the laugh track couldn't numb the creeping sense of betrayal. By morning, the whispers had spread. She woke up to a group chat notification. Group, Coffee Crew, which included her, Jesse, Logan, and a couple of others from college. Logan. So, Ava gave Jesse a car with busted brakes? Seriously?
Bree.
Wait, what? That's so reckless. Is that true, Ava? Ava blinked at the screen. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. No, that's not what happened. The brakes were fine. Jessie said she lost control, but now she's telling people I knowingly gave her a dangerous car? That's not true. Jessie was silent in the chat. But a few seconds later, Ava got a private message. Jessie. Ava, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I just told the truth. The brakes were squeaky, remember? You even said it once. Don't make this messy.
Ava stared at the message.
Don't make this messy. There it was. A threat, wrapped in friendly punctuation. She closed the chat and began digging through her records. Maintenance logs, texts to her mechanic, old service invoices, anything that could prove the brakes were in perfect working order. She found a receipt from a service 6 weeks ago. Full inspection. Brakes included. No issues reported. Still, Jesse's lie was gaining traction. That afternoon, Ava visited Officer Dylan Parker, the responding cop from the scene. She wanted a copy of the accident report. His small-town badge and tired eyes gave her a faint glimmer of hope. Maybe someone still saw facts for what they were. But even he seemed hesitant. I remember Jesse saying the brakes didn't respond, Officer Parker said, flipping through his notes. Said she warned you about it before? Ava leaned forward, alarmed. That's not true. She never said anything about a problem until after she crashed it. He looked at her, non-committal. That'll all be in the report. Back in her car, well, her mom's borrowed SUV, Ava gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her voice shook as she spoke aloud to no one. She's framing me. Why would she do this? The question echoed in her mind. Jessie had never been perfect, messy, impulsive, dramatic, but malicious? This was something else. That night, while organizing her desktop folders in a futile attempt to regain control, Ava found a short voice memo, dated 3 weeks prior. She had recorded it during a car ride with Jesse. They were talking about true crime stories, laughing about a podcast episode where a woman faked an entire robbery. If I ever get into an accident, Jesse had joked, I'll just say it wasn't my fault. You know how good I am at playing the victim.
She had laughed.
Ava had laughed too.
But now?
Now, the words felt like foreshadowing. Her hand hovered over the mouse. Should she confront her with this? Was it even legal to use a recording like that? A buzz snapped her attention back, an email. Subject, claim notification. Insurance file, hashtag 77488C. The email was from her auto insurance company. Please note, based on the initial testimony, your claim has been flagged for potential negligence due to reported mechanical failure. Investigation pending. Negligence. Mechanical failure. Pending investigation. Her stomach twisted in a knot. Jessie hadn't just lied to friends. She'd lied to the insurance company. And now, Ava was being investigated. Heart pounding, she called Jessie. No answer. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. In a moment of desperation, she drove to Jessie's apartment. The lights were off. The car, a scratched-up blue Ford Fiesta, sat in the driveway, intact. Ava sat in her mom's car for 10 minutes before she saw someone inside shift behind the curtain. Jessie was home, but she didn't come to the door. Later that evening, Logan called. "Hey," he said, voice quieter than usual. "Just wanted to check. I talked to Jessie earlier, and she said you knew the brakes were bad and didn't warn her." Ava exhaled sharply. "That's a lie, Logan. Why would I give her a car I thought was dangerous? She begged to borrow it. I even reminded her to drive carefully." There was a pause. "Look, I'm not saying I don't believe you," Logan said slowly. "But she sounded really convincing. Like, she even said she warned you twice. I don't know what to think." Ava felt the floor tilt beneath her. Jessie wasn't just bending the truth. She was rewriting it. And people were starting to believe her. "I have a recording," Ava said suddenly. "From a few weeks ago. She joked about faking responsibility for an accident. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now—" "Send it," Logan said, his tone shifting.
She did.
15 minutes later, he texted back. "That's creepy as hell. She sounds exactly like how she's acting now." Ava finally felt the first drop of hope hit her chest. But then came another message. "Be careful. If she's lying this easily, what else is she capable of?" That night, Ava sat in silence. The tea had gone cold. Her phone battery was dying. The world was spinning too fast. The woman she thought was her best friend had turned on her. And now, she wasn't just dealing with betrayal. She was being hunted by a lie. The next morning, Ava stepped out into a world that suddenly didn't feel safe anymore. She walked into the local cafe, her usual haunt since college. The barista, Emily, looked up and offered a tight-lipped smile. Not the warm grin she was used to. The small-town charm had turned sour. Ava stood in line, overhearing murmured words behind her. She knew the car was faulty, right? Jessie's lucky she didn't get killed. Insurance is gonna drop Ava like a rock. It was like being the villain in someone else's story. She gritted her teeth and got her order to go. That afternoon, she called Troy, her cousin and a lawyer in training who had just passed the bar. "I think I'm being set up," she told him. "Can you help me figure out what I can do legally?" Troy asked for everything: texts, the voice memo, the insurance claim file. He promised to get back to her within 24 hours. But the emotional unraveling had already begun. That night, Ava's sleep was cut short by nightmares. Twisted memories, Jessie behind the wheel, laughing maniacally, accusing her in front of a courtroom, Ava screaming, "It's not true," only for the judge to bang the gavel and say, "Negligence proven." She woke in a cold sweat. That same day, Ava got a call from Mason, her ex-boyfriend. They hadn't talked in months. "I don't want to get involved," he started, "but Jessie's been messaging people from our old group, telling them you've always been reckless and that you tried to silence her after the accident." "What?" Ava gasped. "That's completely false. She even said you offered her money to stay quiet. Said you panicked about legal trouble." Ava nearly dropped the phone. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was warped reality. Jessie was planting seeds of lies so deeply that even people who knew her were starting to doubt her. After the call, Ava couldn't sit still. She decided to go back to the crash site, hoping maybe she'd find something everyone missed. The stretch of road was still stained with black tire marks. It was a quiet, narrow curve outside town. No cameras. No witnesses. Just trees and silence. But something caught her eye. A discarded GoPro, half buried in the brush. Her pulse quickened. She recognized it instantly. Jessie had a habit of filming her drives, uploading clips with cheesy background music and filters. #drive vibes, she used to call it. Ava yanked it out of the dirt, brushing off the grime. The lens was cracked, but the SD card looked intact. Back home, she plugged it into her laptop and scanned the files. There it was, dated 2 minutes before the crash. Jessie humming along to a Taylor Swift song, smiling at the camera. "No problems today," Jessie said cheerfully, tapping the steering wheel. Car's actually driving smooth for once. Ava froze the frame. That one sentence. It was everything. If she could get this into the right hands, she could prove Jessie's lie. She forwarded the clip to Troy immediately. But before she could feel relief, her phone lit up again, this time with a call from Officer Parker. "Miss Brooks," he said, his voice stern, "I need to ask you to come to the station." Ava blinked.
Why?
What's going on? There's been a counterclaim filed by Miss Sutton, he said. She's accusing you of negligence and malicious intent. Malicious what? She's claiming you lent her the car knowing the brakes would fail, and now she's added that you allegedly told her to keep quiet about it in exchange for money. The floor dropped out from beneath her. I never. We'll discuss everything at the station. Bring any evidence you have. As she hung up, Ava felt her heart race. This wasn't just personal anymore. Jessie was building a legal case. And with the rumors, the insurance claim, and now this, Ava was dangerously close to being cornered. She called Logan again. She's filing charges, Logan. She's saying I bribed her. Are you serious? I found her GoPro at the crash site. She says, car's actually driving smooth for once. I sent it to Troy. But she's moving faster than me. Logan sighed. What does she even want, Ava? Why is she doing this? Ava stared into the distance. Her voice dropped. Attention. Sympathy. Maybe revenge for something I didn't even know I did. Or maybe she's just always been like this, and I never saw it. As night fell, she sat by the window, staring out at the darkened street. A notification buzzed on her phone. Add Jessie Sutton. When your friend betrays your trust and endangers your life, what do you even call that? Hashtag broken trust, hashtag justice. The post had over 500 likes, dozens of comments, and people flooding the thread with support for Jessie. Ava opened the comments. You're so brave for speaking out. That girl's a menace. Sue her. She deserves it. Ava slammed the phone down. Her hands shook. Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just about the accident anymore. It was about her reputation, her freedom, her truth. She was being erased. And now, Jessie controlled the narrative. Ava knew she had one shot left. She had to take the evidence to the police. And she had to be ready for what came next. Because this lie wasn't going to stop. Unless she stopped it. Ava sat outside the precinct in her car, the GoPro footage saved on a USB in her trembling hand. Her breath fogged up the windshield as she stared at the glass doors. Inside those walls, the version of her story that Jessie had told was already alive, poisoning opinions, cementing lies. She forced herself out, her boots hitting the pavement with a sharp finality. No turning back. Inside, Officer Parker met her with a raised brow. We'll talk in the interview room, he said flatly. No warmth. Just protocol. Ava handed him the USB immediately. Watch this before anything else, she said. It proves she's lying. Parker inserted the USB into the department's laptop and clicked on the file. Jessie's voice echoed through the speakers. No problems today. Car's actually driving smooth for once. The timestamp was undeniable. 2 minutes before the crash. Parker leaned back, lips pressed together. Why didn't you bring this in earlier? I just found it yesterday. At the crash site. Buried. He clicked his pen. That's very convenient. Ava's eyes narrowed. Do you think I planted it? I think Jessie Sutton has already filed an official complaint. You're here to defend yourself. Let's proceed. An hour later, Ava left the station, exhausted but holding on to a single hope. The footage would shift the tide. But she didn't expect what happened next. That evening, Ava opened her front door to find a manila envelope resting on her welcome mat. Inside, court papers. Jessie was suing for damages, emotional distress, negligence, malicious endangerment. She was demanding $85,000. The gall, the cruelty. Ava's knees buckled. She sat on the floor, gripping the edge of the doorway to keep from falling apart. Her phone buzzed. Logan again. I just talked to Troy. He said the footage is usable in court, but it'll take time to file it through discovery. We don't have time, Ava said, her voice hollow. She's burying me in public. In court. In lies. There was a silence on the other end. Then Logan said something he hadn't dared say before. You need to confront her. Not legally. Not in DMs. Face to face. Ava blinked. You're serious? She's walking around like the heroine in her own drama. You need to flip the script. That night, Ava drove across town, her fists clenched on the steering wheel. Jessie lived in a condo complex her parents had bought her after college. Gated, neat, clean. Deceptively innocent. Ava buzzed the doorbell.
Once. Twice.
Finally, the door creaked open. Jessie stood there in leggings and a hoodie, hair pulled into a high bun. She looked surprised. Maybe amused. Well. Ava Brooks in the flesh, she said. Come to apologize? Ava stepped forward, chest tight.
No.
I came to ask you why. Why are you doing this? Jessie's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? You know the brakes weren't faulty. You know I didn't bribe you. I found her GoPro. Your own words contradict everything you're saying. Jessie's smile cracked. Just a flicker. You're bluffing. I'm not. I gave it to the police. Jessie's posture stiffened. Ava pressed on. Why, Jessie? We were friends. I let you borrow my car. You crashed it. You lied. Then you blamed me. For what? Sympathy points? A lawsuit win? What's your endgame? Jessie crossed her arms. Her voice dropped, more venom than Ava had ever heard. You always acted like you were better than me.
Perfect job.
Perfect reputation. Everyone always loved Ava. I was just your quirky friend. Until I got hurt because of you. That's not true, Ava snapped. You made choices. You pushed that car past the limit. You were showing off. Jessie's nostrils flared. And now, Ava continued, you're twisting everything to make yourself the victim. Jessie's lips curled into a cold smile. Guess what, Ava?
Perception is reality. And right now?
Everyone sees me as the one who survived your negligence. Ava stepped closer, her voice steel. Then you won't mind when I go public, too. With your footage. With your messages. With every lie you've told. Jessie scoffed. Go ahead. I'll spin it. I always do. Then, without warning, she added. You think people care about truth? They care about narrative. Mine's already out there. For a split second, Ava saw it all clearly. Jessie's mind was a labyrinth of twisted justifications. She had rewritten the script of reality to paint herself as the tragic lead. And she believed it so deeply, it was almost convincing. But Ava wasn't going to let this stand. She turned on her heels and left. Back in her car, her hands shook. But her voice memo app was still running. She'd recorded the entire conversation. She had Jessie on tape, admitting she'd twisted the narrative, mocking the truth, gloating about her manipulation. It was the final piece. She forwarded it to Troy, then to Officer Parker. A text came back within minutes. Troy, this changes everything. We'll file a defamation countersuit tomorrow. And we'll hit her with criminal fraud. Ava closed her eyes. The world tilted. Not in fear this time, but in relief. Still, her heart ached. She hadn't won yet. But the storm had shifted. The tide was turning. And Jessie? She wouldn't see it coming. The courtroom buzzed with quiet tension. Ava sat at the plaintiff's table. Only this time, she wasn't the one being accused. Across from her sat Jessie, shoulders tense, a tight smile frozen on her face. Her lawyer flipped through notes quickly, nervously. The air was thick with consequence. The judge glanced over the evidence folder one last time. USB footage, voice recordings, digital message logs. The narrative had shifted, violently, undeniably. Jessie's claims had crumbled. The very video she thought had disappeared had become the sword of truth. And her own words, recorded at the door of her apartment, had sealed her downfall. Ava didn't watch Jessie as the judge read the verdict. She didn't need to. Based on the evidence presented, the judge declared, "This court finds the defendant's initial lawsuit to be fabricated, defamatory, and intentionally malicious. Damages will be awarded to Ava Brooks in the amount of $60,000, and criminal charges for fraud and perjury will proceed under a separate trial." Jessie flinched. Visibly, her world, once fabricated from control and ego, had begun to collapse. Outside, reporters swarmed. Ava, how do you feel? Were you shocked at the betrayal? What do you want others to learn from this experience? Ava paused, finally lifting her gaze to the sea of cameras. I want people to know that the truth doesn't always scream, she said. Sometimes it whispers, and you have to fight to make it heard. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. The weeks passed slowly, but healing began in small, quiet ways. Her job welcomed her back, not with a celebration, but with respect. The marketing firm that had distanced itself from the controversy now realized their biggest mistake wasn't about damage control. It was failing to stand by someone with integrity. Clients reached out. Old friends apologized. Even strangers sent messages, thanking her for standing up to false narratives. But the scars? They lingered. She had moments where she'd wake up sweating, heart pounding, as if still reliving the betrayal. The crash. The courtroom. Therapy helped. Journaling helped more. But what truly rebuilt her was the realization that she hadn't broken. She'd bent, but hadn't shattered. One Sunday afternoon, Ava visited her old car, now totaled and collecting dust at a junkyard. She sat in the driver's seat, eyes closed. It wasn't about the car anymore. It never really was. It was about trust, about how quickly it could be weaponized, about how fragile the boundary was between friend and foe. A knock on the window startled her. It was Logan, holding 2 iced coffees. "You okay?" he asked, handing her one. Ava smiled faintly. "Getting there." They sat on the hood in silence, the autumn sun warming their backs. "She ever reach out?" Logan asked. Ava shook her head. Her lawyer did. Offered a private apology. Said she regrets how far things went. Logan snorted. "That's rich." "Yeah." "Would you forgive her?" he asked. Ava thought about it for a long while. Then, finally, "Forgiveness doesn't mean I invite her back into my life. It just means I'm done letting her poison me." They clinked coffee cups. It was a kind of peace. 6 months later, Ava stood behind a podium at a nonprofit event for digital safety and defamation survivors. Her name had quietly become part of a wider conversation. False narratives, legal abuse, digital truth. She told her story, not for sympathy, but for strength. She warned people of the subtle signs, the casual manipulation, the charismatic deflection, the way lies weave into public perception. And then she reminded them, you may be afraid to fight back. You may feel alone. But lies are loud because they fear silence. Because silence listens, and then it speaks. When your truth rises, it shakes everything built on deceit. Applause thundered. After the event, she walked out into the parking lot, where her new car waited. A different model. A fresh start. But in the rearview mirror, she always looked twice now. Not from paranoia. From wisdom. From survival. The last message she ever got from Jesse was a simple email. "I guess you won. Happy now?" Ava never replied.
She didn't need to.
She already had everything she needed. The truth. Her name. Her peace. And no one could ever steal those from her again.